And I'm back to Photoshop Classroom in a book, Chapter 3. This is part C. And we are rotating the selection. You still have your muscle selected. Let me go back up and make sure there, click on program, and that way I know I've got it selected. I've got a little piece here that I did not get selected, so let me do a shift, and I'm going to just add this by shift clicking. I'm adding to the selection. That added just a little bit on there that I had missed before. I see I've got a couple little areas in here I'd like to clean up. Again, if I use my shift key, it's going to add to the selection. And now that we have this selected, we want to pick this up and move it. We can do edit, transform, rotate, or I'm going to actually go up and click on my move tool. You can use that edit, transform, and rotate, and it's going to put your selection controls up there, the transform controls. I already have my transform controls up there. I like to see my transform controls. All I need to do then is I go to the corner, I get my double arrow there where I can rotate. If I hold down my shift key, it's going to constrain me so that my angles are moving, and I think it's about 10 or 15 degree angles, so I can get to my 90-degree angle at very easily just by rotating and holding the shift key down. And looks like I went the wrong direction, so again I'm going to hold my shift key and I'm going to rotate around, and now I've got everything where it's supposed to be. I know my marquee kind of gets lost. It doesn't move as fast as the selection does. So I can position my muscle where I would like it after I've rotated it. When I have moved it around, remember you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move it around. As soon as I've got it placed where I would like it and it's leaving a slight drop shadow again, I am going to go up and, oh, here we go, apply the transformation. I forgot about doing that. You need to apply. You could also click that little check mark up at the top. Sorry, that was my oversight. And then I'm going to deselect. The next part of the book wants you to use the magnetic lasso tool, which we've already done. So I'm not going to talk through all of this. You should be able to work it. You could actually use a combination of selection methods. You could go in and you could select your quick select tool and go in and try using that and see how that works. Doesn't necessarily work as well as you would like. I'm going to now change to my magnetic lasso tool, and I'll hold down my Alt key because that's going to give me the removes from selection, and I can go in and select this little area here to deselect that section. I can use my magnetic lasso tool here, again holding down my Alt button to give me the remove from selected area. Click back to remove that. It looks like I may have missed a little bit up here. It's pretty good, but I can go in with my shift button selected and I can add to an area, and all I need to do is click around the outside to smooth that selection off, double click to select the area, release my shift key, and I now have the Nautilus selected. So you can try using different selection methods, and you might be happier with the result that you're going to get using one of the other selection tools. As soon as I've got this selected, I'm going to pick up my move tool again, and I'm going to slide my selection up and put it over the letter E. Again, I want to move this so that I have a little tiny bit of a drop shadow showing. Once I'm happy with where it's situated, I'm going to deselect, Control D to deselect. Notice this time I didn't have to commit to that change like I did when we moved the muscle. The only reason that came up when we moved the muscle was because we did the rotation, which was a transformation which made that come up where I had to select that, yes, I wanted to make that change. We are going to next move to picking up the screw down here, because we're going to put those screws in each corner of the shadow box. It's going to be a little bit easier by drawing from the center point. We're going to use this technique to select the head of the screw. So you want to zoom in pretty close on this screw head so that you can actually find the middle of it. We're going to pick up the elliptical marquee tool and move somewhere towards the middle of the screw. You are going to drag your marquee tool outward, and when you begin to drag, hold down your Alt button. If you're on a Window, Mac, it's going to be the option. You can also use the Shift key to make a very accurate circle. So we want to be as round as possible. So hold down your Alt button as you drag. Will drag from the center instead of dragging across. Your Shift key will give you a circle. Once you have that situated and looks good to you, you can release that. Remember, before you select the Move tool, you can still move uh, your selection around. I'm going to show you something else that we can do, and this is not covered in the book. If I go to select, I can transform selection, which gives me controls around there. I am not going to be changing anything other than the selection. I am not altering any other part of this yet. I am only changing where I am selecting from. Now notice I was dragging from the corners to change the size. I can hold down my Shift key to maintain the circle, and use my arrow keys to move the selection around. Now I have, I believe, a better selection. If I don't like that shiny part there, I can resize, bring this in. To me, I'm going a hair too small. I can zoom in on this. I can see that a little bit better. So again, I'm going down slightly smaller with my selection. I want the screw head. I don't necessarily want that white area around it, and I'm trying to stay as round as I possibly can. And there, I think I've got a pretty good selection that I'm happy with now. I've made this change, and I'm going to click on the check mark to commit my transform. You can also use your enter button, which will do the same thing. And now I have my selection. The next thing we want to do is make copies of this. We're going to resize it, and we're going to make copies of this. First, we're going to move the screw. So first of all, we want to back out, zoom out, so you can see at least one of the corners here. Zoom back in. I'm using the scrubby zoom. I'm going to pick up the Move tool. Okay, so there's my selection that I'm going to move. Position the pointer within the screw selection where you get your scissors, and drag the screw onto the lower right corner of the shadow box. It's way too big. Again, you can go in and you can go edit, transform, scale, and that gives you the control handles. I have my control handles on there already. I could actually do this without going to scale. Hold down your Shift key as you drag, because we want to constrain this to make it even, and you can drag down to get a proper fit. We can also move our selection because we haven't committed it yet, and we want to take it down small enough, and I'm not going to hold you to the 40%, but we want that screw to be in the corner, fitting nicely in that shadow box, not too big. I know they're talking 40% on there, but I didn't follow the 40%. I'm simply centering it and scaling it down to a size that I feel looks fine. Leave that screw selected. You're going to go to File and save your change. We can apply the transformation, that's fine, but don't deselect your screw. Now we're going to hold down the Alt key. I want to zoom out a little bit more. Remember, I can go to use my keyboard shortcuts, but I'm zooming out so that I can see the top of the shadow box. Move tool still selected over the selection. Hold down my Alt key, click, and drag. And if I want to drag straight up, I'm going to hold down my Shift key to keep me constrained. And I have now placed the original screw, and I have copied and placed a second version. I'm going to scroll over so that I can see. I might really want to zoom out just a little bit more so that I can see the entire board. And now I want to do this option again. I'm going to drag another duplicate of the screw. So again, my Alt button, it doesn't want to duplicate for me. Okay, I did not have a commit key selected, so let me try this again. Alt, click, Shift. Come on. Alt, click, Shift. There we go. Now I'm finally getting it. Drag it over here. Release. Alt, click, Shift, and drag straight down. Whoa, come back. And release. Okay, I had a little bit of trouble with it. You may have some trouble with it as well. If you do, you might have to zoom in a little bit. You may have to move part way and then continue. I'm not sure. Just keep working at it. You will get it. Once you have the last screw placed where you'd like it, you can Control D to deselect. Now that we have the image and we have everything situated the way we wanted it, we're going to crop the image down because we don't need all this excess stuff, okay? So to crop the image, you're going to use the crop tool. The shortcut is the C key, which brings up the crop tool. And once you do, you're going to see the crop. We don't want a ratio selected or a size selected. So if your preset comes up from the last thing that we did, hit clear. That's going to make everything go away. We want to be sure that you have ratio selected, which is going to pretty much let you free select the proportions you want. You can now go in and make your changes, drag in, because we want to eliminate the outside stuff, and you just want the shadow box left. And just click and drag to resize, reposition. You want to clean this up so that all you see is the shadow box and you don't have anything but the shadow box. You don't want that white edge left. You can have some of the shadow, but that's it. Now, once you have that, you can hit the accept selection, commit the current operation button up here. There it is. It is now clipped. Everything has been moved. You've all the different kinds of selection tools, made duplications, copies, and you're in good shape. You can file and you can save. Remember to export this out as a PDF to send to me.